Good afternoon and a very warm welcome. My name's Tony Solomon. Delighted to see you here for the third in our session of Lunch and Learn sessions, the third in the series. And today the spotlight is on creating a happy and healthy workforce. Now, research has shown that happy and healthy employees are more productive, and more productive employees are more profitable. So if our businesses can get this right, there is a massive win-win. Now, as many of you will know, I work with the GEM project, Going the Extra Mile. It's a social inclusion and employability project that supports people in Gloucestershire on a one-to-one basis, providing support for people who are often facing multiple barriers to getting into or back into work. Over the last 5 years, we've supported around 2,000 people, many of whom I'm pleased to say are working or in training or further education. But one of the things that's emerged from the work we've been doing is the development of a brand new initiative, Inclusivity Works, which is all about raising awareness and supporting employers on their diversity and inclusion journey, to help employers really reap the business benefits that are available to them by being more diverse and by having a fully inclusive culture where people can bring their whole selves to work and give of their best. Now, absolutely delighted this morning to have Vicky Lukins from Healthy Workplaces Gloucestershire. Vicky is a great title, a workplace wellbeing champion with a huge amount of experience and a passion for helping organisations to create healthy and happy cultures. Vicky's going to be with us in a moment, but if I can just say a word on questions, if you could put any questions, please, in the chat box or the Q&A box at the bottom, I'll make sure they get asked. But for now, a great warm welcome to Vicky, and thank you very much indeed for joining us today. Over to you.
Thank you, Tony. Good afternoon, everyone. So I work for Gloucestershire Healthy Lifestyle Service, and I run a accreditation scheme for workplaces to help with all aspects of health and wellbeing in the workplace. Now I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview today of what our project is all about, how you can get involved and how it can support your business. But then we're going to also spend the main part of the session having a little look at some of the resources that are out there to help you create a healthy workplace culture and some of the practical things that businesses can do to implement cultural changes and to create a thriving, healthy, happy workforce. So basically, the Gloucestershire Healthy Workplace Award has been around for a couple of years. We can work with any business in Gloucestershire. It's an evidence-based accreditation scheme designed to support businesses. You can see the writing there provides a framework for employers to work through to address all aspects of health and wellbeing within their workforce. And it's been developed in line with government guidance. And it's developed specifically in Gloucestershire for Gloucestershire businesses and covers all aspects of health and wellbeing. So the elements you can see on the screen there, those are the different areas that we ask employers to think about around health and wellbeing in the workplace. Lots and lots of things that can affect the health and wellbeing of staff inside and outside of the workplace, and more it's becoming really important for employers to take a holistic approach to supporting their workforce and to address any issues that people may have, and to create, most importantly, a culture where people feel supported, where people know where to go for help, and where employees can be at their best and thrive, and very much a culture where there is no stigma around having health issues, whether that's mental or physical health issues. So it really fits nicely the kind of culture we're trying to create with the Inclusivity Works approach. You know, an inclusive workplace, a supportive workplace, a diverse workplace, a workplace where people can be themselves and be supported for everything they do. So Just some basics really in terms of why we're doing this. It's been funded by the public health team at Gloucestershire County Council to really try and help as many businesses as we can across the county to be proactive in supporting their staff, and help with that legal responsibility and that duty of care. We want workplace cultures in Gloucestershire where people can thrive and where we can champion positive health behaviours. And the award comes at 2 levels. I'll send you these slides afterwards so you can have all those details to hand. But just a couple of things about what you get when you sign up to the award. So we work with companies and support you on your journey. All our support is free, and the award can be easily accessed through our website, through an online portal, which we'll have a look at in a little while. We take a very proactive approach into championing and supporting all areas of health and wellbeing, and we work with you to focus on what's needed in your organisation. So although we look at all those health topic areas and have a framework that encompasses all those health topic areas, the award is designed in such a way that workplaces can look at their own workforce, look at their size, look at their facilities, and look at the needs of their people and tailor the health and wellbeing activity to what people really want and what people really need. The idea is that we want you to bring your employees with you along the journey, and to create that culture that everyone's involved in and that everyone buys into. So some of the support we offer as we work with clients is listed there. So we do monthly newsletters which cover a whole range of different things, from like awareness days, helping workplaces get involved in awareness days with free resources, everything from cancer awareness to disability awareness to mental health promotion. So there's lots of awareness days out there and national resources that are designed to support employers, so we can bring you all that information. As well as various other things in our newsletters, topics, tips on all things health and wellbeing, and useful sites and useful resources that you can tap into. We offer our clients regular meetings, we run good practice forums, and we've also started last year to run workplace challenges, physical activity challenges in the workplace, and all of this support is free for employers. We had our very first award celebration event, and we got 17 businesses receiving their award in December last year. Which was a fantastic event supported by G1ST and Gloucestershire University. We held it at the university, and a really nice forum for, you know, promoting businesses and promoting what you do, and promoting the fact that the businesses who are investing in this health and wellbeing culture are great places to work and great employers. So the way it all works is we have developed over the last couple of years a toolkit on our website, and there's quite a lot of information there. There's all kinds of tips, and I wanted to go into some of this today with you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing this presentation for a second, and I am going to reshare my screen with our website. So hopefully you can all see the Healthy Workplaces Gloucestershire website up on the screen now. So there's a lot of resources on this website, and I wanted to kind of take you through some of the stuff today, but also initially just look at what you can do to get started, and some little things, some hints and tips that are all embedded in this site to help you get started in creating a healthy workplace culture. So one of the key elements from our perspective, and one of the things we work with employers to try and create, is looking at strong leadership and communication. If leaders are leading by example, if they are adopting healthy behaviours, if they are talking about openly about health issues, perhaps, if they are kind of practicing what they preach around healthy practices at work, then that is a real key element to creating that healthy workplace culture. That's what the first section of the award looks at. So some of the things really to consider as a starting point. So have a think about how your leaders and managers communicate information. Is it consistent? A lot of organisations have been talking more and more about health and well-being since COVID has been on the agenda over the last couple of years. I think workplaces have been really, stepping up and trying to think about how the impact of COVID has affected their staff, and trying to make sure that there's processes in place to support them. And I think communication is really key there, in terms of making sure that messages are coming out consistently. So the other thing you can do to start off with is think about how much you know already about staff health and wellbeing, and how you can find out about how your staff are doing, how your staff are feeling. So things like morale, things like stress levels, healthy behaviours as well. And you can have a look at some of this anonymously. There's various ways that you can find out strategically how your staff are feeling. And one of the things that I think makes this accreditation not a tick box exercise, but a real cultural exercise is we do ask employers to have a look at their data. We ask them to be communicating, having two-way conversations with their staff about their health behaviours, about their health needs. And we want employers to be focusing on improving retention, sickness absence, productivity, and general stress reduction, and feeling good at work. So there's various different tools and techniques that we will look at with employers to enable them to do this. So yeah, on one level, it's looking at your data. You're getting to know your data. On the other level, staff surveys. Surveys can be a really good way to kind of capture feedback, either anonymously or with staff. Present in focus groups and things like that. So depending on the size of your organisation, depending on the culture you have, depends on how you might want to do your staff surveys and your staff consultations. And one of the things that workplaces can look at is a health needs assessment. Now, Public Health England have developed some guidance for workplaces on conducting a health need assessment. They have set questions and they take you through these questions to really help employers to understand the health needs of their workforce. It's a great tool that employers can dip in and out of. It's completely free. Lots of businesses that I've worked with have done it as a survey monkey and assessed, where they are to start with. So it looks at things like how much sleep people are getting. It looks at smoking and alcohol and eating habits, i.e. you getting your intake of 5 a day. It looks at stress levels, but it also looks at people's perceptions of the organisation they work for. So do people feel that they're working for an organisation where they're valued? Have they got opportunities to grow and develop? Do they feel heard? So it's got some really pertinent questions in there to really give employers a good baseline to start with. It has to be done in a very sensitive way. I think the key to doing health needs assessment and asking some questions about kind of that can come across as quite personal around health behaviours, it's really important that businesses set the tone and set the scene and set the context as to why they're asking these questions. Even if it's anonymous, people can sometimes you know, feel challenged by being asked about their personal health and health behaviours. So making sure that there's a rationale there and that it's well communicated, and also making sure that employers, when they're gathering this kind of data, one of the key things is to make sure you do something with it and you tell people what you're doing with it and why, and that something comes out of it that's going to benefit them. So those are really key things. And if you have a look at the government guidance, which this website's great, our website, because it links to all the key information there. You just need to click on the links and it takes you through to all the free resources and all the free guidance. It explains sort of for each section of that assessment what you can do with the results, why you should ask those questions and the context. So it's a really good tool. Some of the other things, make sure your culture, values and beliefs are well communicated for your organisation, and you know the expectation, the behavioural expectations of your workforce. Make sure your managers are demonstrating those behaviours, and make sure you know there's those constant reminders in the right way to all the team that this is the way we want to operate. So I think getting that right, getting some documentation right, getting some training right around that is really key. The company that I work for, Ice Creates, do a lot of work around culture, values and insights with businesses. So there's a lot of knowledge from our team around getting that right and getting the right approach. And these kind of things take time. Changing a workplace culture, developing a workplace culture and creating the culture that you really want is sometimes a slow process. It takes a lot of time to get it right. The businesses I'm working with are really making progress into some of that, but for some of them it's taken months, years even, to start building that trust and building that culture that they want. So all these little things that you can do and keep doing and keep in the forefront are the things that will really help to make a difference in the long run. So that's kind of some basics, some tips to kind of get you started, and the health needs analysis is something that I would highly recommend from public health. Have a little look at it, have a look at the framework, play around with it. There's so much that's free out there, so much for businesses to access, and what we've tried to do with our web resources is to put it all in one place. So I wanted to follow on from the session last week, the session that I think maybe some of you went to on mental well-being, and to look at mental well-being and stress reduction. Now this is a really big area for a lot of employers. Mental well-being and stress has been a focus, and it's come to the forefront particularly over the last couple of years with the COVID pandemic. I've been working with Gloucestershire County Council on a collaborative group, a partnership of organisations coming together, as well as our commissioners in public health, to have a look at mental wellbeing and workplace support for mental health at work and mental wellbeing. And we produced some key resources. Gloucestershire County Council have produced some key resources, some key services that individuals can tap into. And then what we've tried to do is put it all on here for employers in various toolkits and places to support. So I think this section is a really good example of one of our areas, our resource areas on the website. So just to give you a little bit of a background on what we mean by mental well-being and stress. And then what we've done is we've put some hints and tips. So some contributing factors, so things for workplaces to be aware of. So start thinking about hours, and lots of our workplaces have put in place flexible working policies, agile working policies, where practical to help staff with that work-life balance, and particularly taking some learning from some of the things that we've been doing through home working with COVID. So there's a whole lot of things to just think about, and some of these things could come about from lack of information, lack of communication. If people don't know, if they don't feel connected, if they don't know how they're doing, if they don't know what's going on with the bigger picture of the company, I think, you know, it can lead to stress and anxiety. So this is why one of the key things that we look at is communication. A lot of this stuff can be solved through communication, that two-way communication, making sure that people are informed at every level. For example, one of the things that our company did and started doing straight away, there was a lot of uncertainty at the beginning of the pandemic. Obviously, businesses not knowing what was going to happen, this lockdown, which we hadn't experienced before. And straight away, our CEO was doing regular video updates to all staff that we could access wherever we were, and just letting us know what was going on with the company, what they're putting in place, how they will respond, that reassurance over job security, on what the plan is to keep things going and keep things moving. So it was really, really clear from the outset. And I think communication sometimes, particularly in larger organizations, it can get so lost and it can miss people. And if people don't know what's going on, then they start to think the worst. And that does, lead to all kinds of stresses and anxieties. So it's just being mindful, and these just little tips and pointers are great. So there's some stuff on the physical signs and the non-physical signs that you can have a look at there. A little bit on the impact on your business, the costs. So we've done some research here. So that's all information on our website that's really useful. And this one, support for your employees. These are our practical tips. So creating that environment where it's okay to talk about mental well-being, that's really important. So taking that time to ask how people are, to really mean it, building into the one-to-ones or your performance management meetings, making sure that there's questions about the whole person, about how they're feeling, about stresses, and we've got various tools and techniques that we use and that we bring into the one-to-ones, but different companies do it differently. And I think as long as there's an acknowledgement there that you're looking at the whole person, yes, you're looking at the job and the performance, but you're also looking at the whole person and what they've been going through, what they've been experiencing. So encouraging breaks, that is so important for all aspects of wellbeing, mental and physical wellbeing. For desk workers particularly, a lot of us have been working at home on laptops, sitting for hours on end, which is just so bad for our health. So making sure that there's that constant encouragement, reminders to take breaks. And actually, it's really important that managers and leaders do lead by example, and they're seen to be taking their breaks. They're blocking them out in their calendars, because if the leaders and managers are not taking breaks, it sends a message that actually we want to work in a culture where everybody's working flat out and to get to the top and to progress in in your work, you need to keep going, you need to keep working, and it's just, yeah, and that's what then leads to stress and burnout. So it's really important to be mindful of behaviours across the board, and just remember to do that. Taking walks during lunch breaks, getting people out and about away from their desks, and we've been adopting like walking meetings, walking one-to-ones where possible. Piloting things like that. It's not always practical, but there are times when you can do that. So, and then we've got some resources here, the Mental Health at Work Commitment Framework, which is a national initiative. It's all completely free for businesses, and it sets some standards for businesses to work to around committing to becoming an inclusive workplace around mental health, a supportive workplace around mental health, and it gives some really great practical tips on the mental health at work. And again, this website's great because it has all the key links. The Time to Change campaign, which it was originally funded, government funded. A lot of the funding has gone from that campaign, but the resources are still there. And I don't know if any of you have come across Time to Talk Day. That is still going strong. It's supported by Mind and Mental Health at Work charity, working together. And the idea is that every year there's a Time to Talk Day that comes up in February, and there's all kinds of resources that employers can tap into to encourage people to talk about how they're feeling, about their well-being, about their mental health. There's bingo, there's games, there's posters, there's all kinds of free things there that enable employers to just kind of take time out for one day a year, have a think. And it doesn't mean the day job has to stop. It just means let's all just be mindful and conscious of, how people are feeling and talking about it, and creating a culture where we're talking about it. The wellness action plans, and I know for those of you who were in the session last week, we mentioned the wellness action plans from Mind. Those are a great tool. I've had employers using them with all their managers, so that their managers sort of have a base understanding of their own well-being, their own mental health, and how to use an action plan if they needed to with their staff members as well. And there's some great training on the Mind website. It's all the toolkits and the guides are on there, and they're all free to download for employers. And promoting self-care is a great one as well. People might not want to talk in the workplace. They might not want to look at getting support from their colleagues, but they might want to go off and use some resources and get some support for themselves. The Every Mind Matters campaign and the Every Mind Matters website is a really great one. It has a quiz that's available for people to just take the test, see where you are, and it suggests lots of apps and resources and information to help with any areas of mental well-being that you might be struggling with. So that's a really good one if you haven't used that before, and it's a really good one for employers to just promote. And then our toolkit, which is on the website here, which I think I mentioned last week, we sent the links out. So this toolkit has got local training in it, national training in it, and local resources as well. Gloucestershire County Council spent a lot of time putting together information on their website about free counselling services, free online support services that Gloucestershire individuals can tap into, and they've commissioned a lot of these services centrally for Gloucestershire residents. So I think knowing that those services are out there, letting employees know that those services are out there and that they can use them for free at any time, and where those web links are is really, really key. So it's all in our toolkits to kind of share far and wide across your organisation. And I think even just by sharing some of these links and resources, you're raising awareness, you're sending the right messages that this is something that is considered important and valued in the workplace. So that's that one. And then your ideas on things you can do. Again, having a policy, we've got template policies that we can support businesses with. If you want some help developing policies, We run healthy activity challenges, as I mentioned before. So if you want some ideas on running a kind of fitness challenges, health and wellbeing challenges that are inclusive, you know, nothing too strenuous, everyone can work at their own pace, but everyone works as part of the team to kind of get a little bit more physically active, then we can help you with all that kind of stuff. And then what we have on our website is local training and national training. So what we've tried to do is pull together all the resources locally and all the resources nationally that are going to be the best kind of help, and free things, free documents, free guides, free example policies. So we want to take the stress out of it for workplaces so that you don't have to hunt the web for this kind of stuff. It's all there, all the links are there in one place. So we've put it all on our website here. So yeah, so that's, so the mental wellbeing one's quite long. Back pain prevention is another example. Thinking about musculoskeletal conditions and raising awareness of those niggles, those twinges that can happen, maybe if you're in a standing up in a factory setting, or if you're in a role where you're doing a lot of sitting, maybe you're a driver, and not ignoring them, making sure you do something about it before it escalates into a big issue. So again, signpost to information, signpost to support services, make sure there's somewhere people can go if they're struggling with that, and get people to think about it, get people to think about their physical aches and pains and stresses. So a lot of companies I work with have employee assistance programs, for example, that offer support in that area. People don't always know that it's out there, so promoting those well is really key, and showing people where to find information and where they can go. So we've also got some stuff around COVID recovery here. I think this is going to be an ongoing issue for employers. This is going to be something that people from various walks of life are struggling with, a whole range of things. The stress and anxiety that some people have been struggling with. And there's some information about vaccinations as well, and then the post-COVID syndrome. Some people are having those long-term effects, so there's advice on here on how to manage that in the workplace, how to make those reasonable adjustments, where the support is in Gloucestershire for those individuals. And there's occupational health specialists in Gloucestershire working with individuals who've been struggling with post-COVID syndrome, and they can help advise employers as well on the best things to do and how to help that person with a staged approach back into the workplace when that's needed. So again, the links are all in here to those services, but I think that's a key one for employers to know about. So the service in Gloucestershire is all, the information is all in here, again clicking the links within our information. So I'm going to stop sharing the website for now. So I've shown you a little part of it, and I think some of the tips and the techniques in there are really key. I'm just going to come back to my presentation. There we go. So that's the website, guides and resources. Have a look at your leisure. If anyone has any questions or has a look at it, struggling with something, or wants to find something very specific and maybe can't find it on our website or not sure where to look, my part of my role is being that conduit for information, is doing that work for employers and with employers to help you find the best solutions and the best resources. So I am available to email, to contact, and I will support any employer that wants to work with me for free.
Brilliant. Vicky, if I can come in there, because that you know, so many really, really good resources, and we've got questions. So I think if we can use the last 10 minutes to deal with some of the questions that are emerging from your presentation. As you say, you're the point of contact for those organisations that are looking, thinking, hey, we want to do something. You're the go-to person on this to begin the process and unleashing the resources. And you talk about the award and 17 companies already receiving the Healthy Places Award, and that I'm sure will grow exponentially as more of this gets out there. One of the questions that's come up in the box is how important to a healthy, happy workplace is diversity and an inclusive culture?
Oh, I think it's key. It is so important. I think, you know, one of the things that Mental Health First Aid England, one of their key slogans is bring your whole self to work. So it's acknowledging people as their whole selves, everything that, you know, that they have and everything that they can bring that's unique about them, and celebrating that. And I think, you know, looking after people and valuing people as people and as every single quirk that's within that person is the key, and you know, that's the key to having that inclusive culture, and the key to having that well culture as well. You know, yeah, health behaviors are important, but I just think, you know, that culture of respect, that culture where people feel psychologically safe. I know a lot of people have been talking about psychological safety in the workplace, where they do feel safe to open up to colleagues, to be themselves, and not feel judged. And that's really, really important. It goes hand in hand. I don't think you can create a healthy culture if it's not inclusive.
That's really interesting to hear. And I heard a lovely thing recently, which was diversity. Diversity is like being invited to a party. Inclusivity is being invited to dance.
Yeah.
And what comes first? But that's another question, but they are incredibly important. As you say, it must be very difficult if you do not have an inclusive culture to embrace a really happy and healthy environment in which that brilliant thing you just said, that people bring their whole selves to work regardless of their backgrounds or whatever. Fabulous. Now, in terms of brand and brand reputation, you know, I'll say this, but particularly younger people today are far more aware of organizations and their values, and you mentioned values, and their ethics and their green credentials. How is that supporting, or how is what you're doing supporting people's brands and reputations?
Oh, I think it's really important. What we're trying to do is we're trying to create best practice here in Gloucestershire, and the workplaces that are affiliated with us, and also with, you know, projects like Inclusivity Works, making sure that they've got that brand behind them to say, we have done the work, we've put processes and measures in place to make us a good employer, to say we are striving for this ultimate culture of inclusive employment, of healthy employment, of a place where people can thrive, where people can be happy and as healthy as they can be. And I think that, you know, that's more and more what people are looking for. A lot of people have been moving jobs recently. I know it's something that's a topic out there in the news a lot, and a lot I hear from companies, people, you know, changing jobs, looking for something more, looking for something different. And I think, you know, creating a culture where people want to stay, where people are happy, where you know, you spend a lot of time with your work colleagues. And I know we've all been working at home. A lot of us have been working at home, not everyone, but a lot of us have been working away from our colleagues. There's still that contact, and there's still that community that we're part of. And the community, you know, you've got to feel good in that community. Otherwise, you know, there's not much point in sticking around.
Yeah, but interesting. Richard Stone, one of the people here on the webinar, has just said this: that communication during lockdown has been so important, both formal and informal, to keep people connected. Yeah. And he says within his own business, we set up some informal meetings within the team to keep people connected. Virtual coffee every Thursday, where we down tools and catch up as people, not as roles, but as people.
Yeah.
And he goes on to say it's simple but effective, and yeah, absolutely, those sorts of things. And you mentioned 5-minute breaks. I thought, cool, I've never done that before. Stop for 5 minutes every now and again. You know, the culture today, I'm generalizing now, is work through your lunch break and fill your keyboard with crumbs. Really, seems to be a lot of the ethos, doesn't it? So great time to be talking about this as we come back off of, or come out of COVID. Into a world which we want to be better, but we want to learn the good things that we've learned from what's been happening over the last 3 years and around flexibility and embrace them. Yeah. Another question here was about the journey. You talk about doing some sort of survey at the beginning, finding out how your staff are and how that can be quite difficult and obviously confidential and all the rest of it. But how do you measure? It's all very well being here today, but that's not necessarily where we want to be. We want to be somewhere else. How do you measure the journey? What tools do you use for that?
Oh, I think, so in terms of measuring impact, what we look at is like regular surveys. So have your baseline survey, and then a year down the line, let's ask the same questions. Let's get the information out of staff. So one of the things to look at is, how are people feeling? 3 key measures can be in the long term: sickness absence, staff retention, so turnover and things like that, and also productivity of your business. How productive are you being as a business? But I think there's a lot of soft measures, so listening to people and about how people are feeling, and it goes hand in hand, linking that into their performance. So if they're feeling good, if they're feeling happy, if they're feeling confident in their work, in principle, they should be performing well. So those are some of the key measures. What we're doing with the project is, I mentioned at the beginning, there's 2 levels of the award. There's a basic level and an enhanced level. And at enhanced level, we're really getting employers to think about, okay, so you've done some surveys, so you've analysed your sickness absence data and your trends and patterns and things. Now, how are you using that? What have you done with it? And how of the things that you've implemented on the back of gaining that information, what's the impact of them? So, for example, if somebody's put in place a mental health first aider scheme because they've realised that there's an issue around mental health and stress, and they wanted to put some provision in place for their staff to feel supported and people that they can talk to within the organisation. Okay, so 6 months down the line, I want you to tell me, how well used is that? What are your mental health first aiders saying? What are the things, we don't, obviously that's a confidential service, but you can take some of the data, you can take some of the learning, you can look at the impact. How are people perceiving that service? Is it working? Is it not working? And I think with this accreditation and the work we're trying to do, it's an ongoing process. So it never stops. It's constantly evolving. So we want businesses to constantly evaluate the effect of what they're having. So, okay, so you've been running some health and wellbeing challenges. How have those gone down? Well, how have those gone down? How are people feeling about those? Do they have more energy when they come to work in the mornings from exercising more? Have they got into some healthy behaviours and healthy habits? How many smoking quits have you had? That kind of thing. That's really, really important to measure that impact as you go along.
Brilliant. I'm going to leave it there, and thank you very, very much indeed, Vicky, for your time this morning, for an excellent presentation. Great resources that people can use and do something with and make something happen and transform your workplace potentially. And thank you to everybody for joining us this afternoon, I should say. Now, next Tuesday, the 4th in the series, the final one in this series of Lunch and Learns, the spotlight is going to be on unconscious bias.